Hey everyone, it's Craig Campbell with Pastor Craig's Vintage Cards, and today we're taking another deep dive look here at the 1956 top set. This time, Jack Meyer, who was a pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. And again, I love the 1956 set. I think it's the most beautiful Topps card set ever produced, baseball card set ever produced, really. And if you look at Jack, you can see he's warming up on the sideline there. It appears to be playing maybe on the road. I don't know. The player in the background has like a white uniform on. And it kind of looks like he has a gray top on, possibly. But he's warming up, and it's quite interesting that pose here with him bent over. As we get into a story, you'll see that eventually he developed a pitching style that was called the gorilla stance. And just quite interesting. But Jack Myers, as we get into his story, you'll find out he had quite the troublesome, tumultuous career for someone that had just absolute uh, unending potential when he came into the leagues. And the way it ended up was rather sad. And I hope you will stay and listen to this whole story on John Meyer here. He was 6'1", 175 pounds. He threw right. He batted right. Born in 1932. And yeah, Jack John Meyer. He went by Jack, but his real name was John. And so let's take a look at the story of Jack Meyer and how his career unfolded. Right-hander Jack Meyer seemed destined to become a fan favorite when he debuted for the Phillies in 1955. He was solidly built, blond, and handsome. The 23-year-old Philadelphia native possessed considerable pitching talent. Hall of Fame teammate Robin Roberts recalled years later that Meyer had Nolan Ryan-type stuff with a sharp curveball to go with a blazing fastball. That's a pretty good accolades from a Hall of Fame pitcher, Robin Roberts, comparing him to Nolan Ryan-type stuff with a sharp curveball and a blazing fastball. Meyer enjoyed an excellent rookie season, but injuries and off-field behavior got the best of him. And his baseball story really is one of not fulfillment, but not being fulfilled. Meyer starred in baseball, football, and track at Penn Charter High School. It was a prestigious private Philadelphia school. And he quarterbacked the Quaker football team. His brother James played running back. In track, he was a sprinter, and he ran cross country. But baseball was really where he truly shined. He authored 3 no-hitters as a junior in high school. And as a senior in 1950, he pitched his team to an undefeated season, and he earned 3/4 of the team's victories, including a 9-strikeout, 2-hitter in the final game of his high school career. While in high school, he was named Mr. Fastball of 1949 by the Phillies. They held an annual contest using a pitchometer and challenged youngsters to compete for the title. After winning his elimination round, Meyer claimed the title and a $250 check with a pitch that was clocked at 85.2 miles per hour. Based on this high school performance, the New York Yankees offered Meyer $25,000 to sign, but he turned it down and he went to Wake Forest College. In 1951, he developed a sore arm while pitching semi-pro ball, and he wound up signing for the Philadelphia Phillies for just $3,500. So he turned down the Yankees for $25,000 and signed with the Phillies for $3,500. He began his professional career in the Phillies minor league system, and by 1952 he advanced to Class B of the Wilmington, Delaware Blue Rocks. And wildness was a problem for him as he walked 114 batters in just 178 innings. So he was a wild pitcher. In 1953, he continued to climb up through the minor league system. He racked up 224 strikeouts in 218 innings. His fine performance gave him an invitation to spring train with the Phillies in 1954. He did okay, but he was sent to the AAA Syracuse team. And here Meyer was pitching a combined one-hitter, and he got suspended indefinitely after the game in Montreal when he got into a big argument with the umpire in the corridor leading to the dressing room. He was fined $100 and was reinstated the following week. In 1955, Meyer debuted in the Polo Grounds against the New York Giants. It did not go well. He gave up a home run to the first batter he faced in the major leagues, who was Davey Williams. He was pulled mercifully after going 3 2/3 innings. He allowed 3 homers, and it was just not a very good debut for him. Things could only get better. In his next start on April 24th, at home at Connie Mack Stadium, he pitched 8 shutout innings against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was the second game of a doubleheader, and he struck out 4, including another rookie 3 times, and that rookie was Roberto Clemente. Meyer struck out 9 Cubs in his next outing, and by May, his record was just not doing too well. He was doing okay, but he was 0-6, and he ended up going into the bullpen, and he reeled off 5 consecutive saves in 5 consecutive appearances. He did not start again in 1958, but he became the team's closer before there was even really such a thing as a closer. But overall, in 1955, he appeared in 50 games. He struck out 97 batters in 110 innings. He finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting to Pirates outfielder Bill Verdon. After an indifferent spring in 1956, which started with 7 scoreless appearances, and he went to the bullpen, and his shoulder started to give him some trouble. And in July, he started to give him some difficulty. And in 1957, he was happy with his contract, and he thought he would return and become the Philadelphia Phillies' top reliever. And he just had some more problems. And in 1958, he had some dental work done, and he thought that would take care of the problems again. But he continued to have some arm problems. And then, interestingly, on June 4th, 1958, June 4th of 1958, he threw 3 consecutive pitches at Cubs star Ernie Banks before hitting him with the 4th one. So he threw 3 straight, and then he hit him with the 4th one. And that was really what spurred the American League and the National League to try to tighten up on the beanball rules. Now, in 1959, he was inconsistent again. His ERA went over 5 as he was in the middle of June. And he just struggled time and time again with shoulder problems, with arm problems. And he got back on the mound later on in the career, or later on that season, and he closed the season by hurling 23 innings without giving up an earned run in his last 10 appearances. So he finished the year fairly strong. In 1960, however, he ended up in a hospital bed. Immediately after the opening day loss, the manager abruptly quit, and Gene Mauch was brought on. And he was real happy to have Gene Mauch as his manager. But then on May 22nd, disaster struck after a 4-2 Phillies loss. Meyer had been drinking heavily, and he got into an altercation with a group outside of a bar, and it happened to include the Philadelphia Bulletin's writer, Ray Kelly, and a broadcaster. And things got out of control. And they were back in the motel room, and one of his teammates dumped a bucket of cold ice water on him while he slept. Meyer woke up. He was enraged, and he ended up hurting his back during the melee. So he was actually in the hospital. And he was so incensed that he actually told the manager, or told the GM that he wanted to quit. He wanted to be traded. And he called him from his hospital bed and told him he was quitting, and he asked for his unconditional release, and he threatened to hire a lawyer. And eventually, Meyer calmed down. But now he had problems with his back, and he just had a real history of being a troublemaker. He underwent surgery in 1960 to repair a ruptured disc and to fuse 2 vertebrae together, but he did not pitch again. And after his angry outburst, he was contrite, and he promised to work his way back into shape. And he made a comment that said, "I guess it's time for me to grow up." But as it turned out, Meyer had little time to grow up. While his back got better through spring training, he appeared in only 1 game in the 1961 season, pitching 2 innings against the St. Louis Cardinals. He gave up 2 runs on 2 hits. And shortly afterwards, he retired from baseball at the age of 29. The GM said Jack doesn't think he can do it anymore. Meyer returned to his off-season job as a salesman for the Philadelphia Card Box Company. Him and his wife had 3 children, but the marriage ended in divorce. And Meyer was hospitalized twice with the heart ailments. He had some heart problems. And then on March 8th, 1967, while he was watching the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics basketball game on television, he suffered a heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital, but he died early the next morning. Meyer was 2 weeks short of his 35th birthday. So this man here died at the age of 34, almost 35. And remember what we said at the very beginning, that Robin Roberts said he had the stuff of Nolan Ryan, but his career just never panned out. He had too many difficulties with alcohol, with a temper, with arm problems. He probably pitched so much as a young person and just, there was no arm management at all in the 1950s, obviously. But here's Jack, that nice smiling picture. It's just kind of sad to realize that he died just short of his 35th birthday of a heart attack. And, you look at his major league stats. He pitched in 455 innings. He had 24 wins with 34 losses. He started only 24 games. He had 21 saves, and he ended up with 375 strikeouts in those 455 innings. This is his rookie card. This 1956 Topps is his rookie card. His last card was issued in 1961. And just kind of a sad story of a guy that had extreme potential and just was not able to harness it and to be able to focus, and probably didn't have good coaches coming up, and just never got over his arm problems and then his anger issues, and obviously he had an inherent heart problem to die at the age of 35 of a heart attack, even in the 1960s, is very young and really not very common. So that's the story of Jack Myers. It's a sad story in a way. You look at this rookie card here, and there's all kinds of potential for him, and he was out of baseball 5 years later, and then he was dead 11 years after this card was issued. So that's the story of Jack Meyer, and that's, again, part of what makes this hobby so interesting to me. I say it almost in every video on these deep dives of the 1956 cards. We all like the Hank Aaron's and the Mickey Mantles and all the big stars, and that's, really, we're interested in collecting. But it's these people like Jack Meyer that make the hobby so interesting to me, to understand their story, to read a little bit more about them. We look at their name and their card number on a checklist, and we just want to fill it into our binder or the set we're building or whatever we're doing. But Jack had a life, and a young man with great potential, but just never fulfilled it on the field, and then passed away at the age of 35. And you just never know what life is going to deal with you. You never know how things are going to work out for you. And it appears that anger and probably alcohol and some other issues got the best of Jack Meyer. Guys, but this is an interesting story, and I just love these 1956 Topps. I like doing these deep dives. I hope that you enjoy it as well. And if you do, please just leave a comment and let me know what you think. It encourages me to keep looking at these cards and to make these videos, which I really, really enjoy. So everyone, keep collecting. Enjoy the hobby. Have a great night.